Good evening, everyone. So what are central veins? We use this term very often and I've been using it for a long time. And when for the sake of this presentation, I started looking for a definition, it was not very easy to get. But ultimately, I think what we can agree upon is that central veins are those large veins which drain blood from the upper limbs and the lower limbs. And since they are very close to the heart, their activity is modified by the pulsations of the heart. So they are very close to the center. Some lists they contain the axillary veins and even the external jugular veins as central veins, and some others don't. So for our purposes, we will look at the veins which are very pertinent to us, which are the internal jugular veins, subclavian veins, brachiocephalic veins, and SVC. So when we ask our residents, students to tell us some basic things about the Doppler, the few things that we are told is that blue shows that the flow is away from the probe, or red is towards the probe, or blue is a vein and red is the artery. These are very basics, and they work as rules of thumb. But when we really get it into interpreting a Doppler image, these so-called rules of thumb can come in the way of interpreting it properly. In fact, most of these are not correct concepts to say. So when we are imaging the central veins, the few questions that we ask ourselves is which vessel I am imaging, along which axis. Generally, Doppler is better to be imaged along the direction of the flow or along the long axis, because that is where Doppler works best. And what probe I am using. For most of these examinations, we'll be using what is called as a linear probe or a vascular probe. And most of the point of care ultrasound machines, they come with their own presets. So we will be using the venous preset for the examinations. Always we'll start within the 2D mode or the brightness mode, and we'll see if the veins are compressible. And compressibility is very easily made out in the internal jugular veins, while in the subclavian and the deeper veins like brachiocephalic veins, it may be a little more difficult. Color Doppler will answer the question, what is the direction of the blood flow? And then we look at spectral Dopplers like Dr. Adil just showed, and it will tell us how well the communication is with the heart and with the thorax of the central veins. Then we compare the left and the right sides, and these tell us, these help in localizing the site of the pathology. How much of the effect is on the left, how much of the effect is on the right. So coming to the protocol, how we do it, we begin with the internal jugular vein high in the neck, and then we slide down. And once we slide it down the neck and reach to the top of the clavicle, we can look at the confluence of the internal jugular vein, the subclavian vein, and the brachiocephalic vein. At this point, if we adjust the probe a little medially, we will get a good view of the brachiocephalic vein. And if we adjust the probe a little laterally, we get a good view of the subclavian vein, at least the supraclavicular part of the subclavian vein. And then to take the examination further, we can look at the subclavian vein infraclavicularly and then obtain images. If we have something like a hockey stick probe, which is a very small probe, then we can even try to look at the veins through the suprasternal notch. And like Dr. Adil just showed, if it is comfortable to the patient, we can even use a curvilinear probe, because this probe helps us look deeper. So we can look at the deeper brachiocephalic and the SVC through the curvilinear probe. At each location, we look for compressibility, the color flow, and the waveform. So this is how we look at the veins on the brachiocephalic vein on the left side. We slide the probe down the neck, and then we tilt it a little medially, a little inferiorly, and a little posteriorly, and we can see the brachiocephalic vein, which is wide and well made out. The vein is on the right side, while the video is on the left side, but I don't think that will come in the way of the interpretation. Coming to the subclavian vein, we do the same maneuver, but here we tilt the probe laterally and posteriorly, and a good subclavian vein is seen in the picture. Why compression is important? Sometimes what can happen is there can be some gain settings on the ultrasound machine which can hinder the visualization of the clot if it is present. So like we see in this case, when the gain is very low, the clot is not well made out at all. And once the gain is increased, only then the clot is made out. So to adjust for a situation where the gain adjustments are not correct, the compression will help in if the vein is non-compressible, then it will alert us to the presence of a clot. However, when the vein is when the clot is this big, and if you are not comfortable compressing the vein for the fear of propagating the thrombus or dislodging the thrombus, then you can even ask the patient to take a deep inhale, which will make the veins collapse. On the other hand, there can be other situations when the venous blood flow is very low. One can get impression that there is a clot that is present in the vein when the blood flow is very low. Again, in that situation, when the vein is compressed and the anterior and posterior walls of the vein coact, that is what will tell us that there is no clot in the internal jugular vein. This is probably the most important slide in the whole presentation. What happens is that initially it becomes very difficult to image the veins using Doppler. There are so many conventions that are involved. So what exactly is the blood flow? Where is it flowing? What is the direction? These are the questions that we need to answer. And 2 or even 3 images which look very dissimilar can in fact provide the same information. You can imagine a person who is looking at a river, and if he turns to the right, the river may be coming downstream. If he turns to the left, the river may be coming towards him. That is a better word to use. And once he looks the other side, he may see that the river is going away from him. But the direction of flow in the river is the same on both the sides. So the Doppler is something like a person who is looking at one side or the other side of the river, and we have to complete all the information that this image gives to come to a final conclusion. So the first thing that gives us a clue about how to interpret the image is the parallelogram. See, this is the parallelogram, or this is the Doppler box. And the direction of the parallelogram, it tells in which angle in which direction we are looking at the flow. So as you can see, there are if you look at the 2 top angles of this parallelogram, one is an acute angle and the other one is an obtuse angle. So the angle, the side on which the acute angle is made, that is the side on which from which we are looking at the blood flow towards the other side. So in this figure, this is the probe that is present, and we are looking from the left side of the image towards the right side, and not the other way around. The next part of the image which gives us a clue about how to look at the image is what is called as a color box. This is or it is also called as a color map. This tells us how to interpret the colors on the images. As you can see, the top part of this color map is always towards. So in fact, it is not blue or red. It is the top that is towards the probe, and it is the bottom that is away from the probe. So in this picture, it is the blue color. So blue is away from the probe. So the flow of blood is away from the probe. And then the last convention is that this dot, it always corresponds to the patient's head in the longitudinal plane. So finally, this image gives us the information that the blood is flowing from the head towards the heart or towards the leg, and it is the next set of images will tell us that it is a venous blood flow. Coming to the second image, this is the same patient, same probe position, and everything is same except that some settings have changed. So we'll again go in the same order. As we can see, this is the Doppler parallelogram. This is the upper part which has got the acute angle. This has got the obtuse angle. So the probe is again on this side. Then we look at the color map. The color map is saying that blue is towards. Blue is towards. So this is red. Again, red is away from the probe. And again, this is the head. So as we can see, this image or this picture, it also conveys the same information as the previous image, even though the color of the blood or the color of the blood flow is different. So that is how we interpret the flow, the direction of blood flow. The main information that color Doppler gives us is the direction of the blood flow. Again, this is again same patient, same probe position, only a few settings have been changed. As we can see, this is the parallelogram, this is the acute angle. So we are we can imagine that the probe is, the direction of vision is from this side, and then we looking at the color map. Red is on the top, so top is towards, the flow is towards the probe, and again this is the head. So all these three images, in spite of the change in direction of the parallelogram or in spite of the change in the color of the blood, they are all giving the same information. So this is what we need to know when we are looking at a Doppler image. As you can see, there are a few settings at the bottom, and one of the important setting is the invert. So if you press this invert, the color map inverts. The blue will become towards and the red will become away from the probe. So this is one more last Doppler image which we can practice. This is the acute angle of the parallelogram. So the direction of vision is this side, and then we are looking at the color map. Blue is towards and red is away. So this is red and this is away from the probe. Third thing is this is the head. So this is in fact a retrograde flow in the internal jugular vein, and for us this is important because this we can see when there is a brachiocephalic vein stenosis. Neurologists see this when there is a normal pressure hydrocephalus, and in fact this is supposed to be a normal waveform in people who are in space. Anyhow, so the main confusion that residents have, or even we as nephrologists have, is how to interpret a Doppler image or a Doppler study. And I think these are the basic concepts, and if we get them, then we can interpret any Doppler image. So after the color Doppler, the next form of Doppler that gives us additional information is what is called as a spectral Doppler, or this study shows the blood flow in the form of a wave. So here what we do is we take the Doppler, the color box, and then within the color box we choose a tissue. This is called as a tissue gate. So we are almost around the 2/3 of the blood vessel is generally what we like to sample. So the blood within these two lines is being sampled, and then we have to adjust for what is called as a Doppler angle. This is the one. It is this line should generally be parallel to the line of the blood flow, and as you can see, this is the angle is 60 degrees. Angle of more than 60, the Doppler shift or the Doppler effect is proportional to the cosine of the angle of insonation. That is the angle between the beam and the angle between the blood flow. The closer it is to 0, which means that if the beam and the blood flow are parallel to each other, then Doppler shift is maximum. The closer it is to 90, that is the beam and the blood flow are perpendicular to each other, then the Doppler shift will be less. In fact, if they are perfectly perpendicular, no color flow will be seen because there is no Doppler shift. So ideally anything less than 60 is acceptable because cosine of 60 is 0.5. Up to that is acceptable. Beyond that, the error becomes too steep. So this is the angle of 60 degrees that we have to ensure. And then we take tracings of the venous blood flow. The velocity is not very, unlike arteries, in the veins, the velocity is not very important and it's not very accurate. And veins give us some lenience as far as this angle of insonation is concerned. More important than the velocity is the waveform. Like Dr. Adil just showed, the variation with respiration is important. So as we can see, this is the spectral Doppler waveform. And there are two types of variations in this. This is the cardiac pulsatility. As we can see, every time the heart beats, it is transmitted to the central veins through the RA, and these peaks are the because of the cardiac pulsatility. Superimposed on that, there is a respiratory variation because the venous return is phasic. Respiratory depends on the respiratory phase. So as we can see, some peaks are shorter, some peaks are taller, and this is a respiratory variation that is seen. So this is a normal venous waveform. Suppose we get a normal venous waveform in a subclavian vein, it almost rules out a proximal, that is a brachiocephalic venous stenosis or any flow, obstruction to flow in the brachiocephalic. This is a waveform from a subclavian vein. As we can see, both the respiratory phasicity and cardiac pulsatility are lost, and there is almost a continuous flow. So this tells us that there is a proximal, there is a obstruction to flow proximal to where we are imaging. So proximal means closer to the heart. We get this in a subclavian vein. It is closer to the heart from the point of view of a subclavian vein, which is the brachiocephalic vein, on the right or on the left. Suppose we get such a graph in both the subclavian veins, then the vein that is proximal to both the subclavians is in fact the SVC. So if we get it in both the subclavian veins, then it may mean that the stenosis or the obstruction to flow is not just at the brachiocephalic, but it may be even at the level of the SVC. So these are the basic ways to interpret the venous arterial waveform. Of course, every test has its own limitations, and venous Doppler is no different. In fact, there is with Doppler there is a learning curve. I did a webinar last week, and I was mainly for the residents, and I was telling them that we should probably go a little slow on the Doppler part of the ultrasound and concentrate more on the B mode or the 2D mode to start with. It is extremely operator dependent, as we all know. The direct visualization of more central veins is very limited, and anatomical details can be missed. So these are the limitations of CV Doppler. But I think in spite of all these limitations, it doesn't take a lot of time, and it gives us useful information about the state of flow in the more central veins, which are very critical for, which are very useful for our patients.